Marto, thanks for stepping out, mate. You got this big lunch. 140 years of Queensland Rugby, mate.
And it could be Brad Thorne's last game. It's a do or die over there. So there's a bit riding on it. 140 years of rugby at Queensland Rugby, and they asked me to see if I can ruin the lunch for them. We'll see how we go.
All right, then. Let me guess. There's going to be some stories told. You're going to trot out a couple of tried and true. Because you are you're going to feel guilty about the fact that you haven't written a brand new speech, so you've got a few extra notes that you're going to try and deliver some new material, right? You're going to live and die on that.
No, that's not right, because that's my traditional formula of being outrageous, etc. I've been told to rein it in and behave like a responsible adult, so that's never happened yet. Mum started saying that when I was about 6 years of age, and it hasn't worked. We'll see how we go. But what are they going to do? Not let me speak at their next 140-year luncheon? So who gives a root?
So, are you going to win and get through to the playoffs in Super Rugby? Because if you do, you can and fodder. I mean, obviously for the first round. I mean, 6, 7, and 8 normally are. But this is an easy place to go, mate. I was over in Fiji when the Blues went there. They won. The Hurricanes lost the following weekend. The Endura at home are tough as.
Oh, mate, and their last game, because they could make the finals if they win as well. So it truly is do or die. Suva might be the last place on earth where you want to play a do-or-die last-round competition match. So I've been saying to everyone on radio today, and, I tell you, rugby's on the nose a little bit here in Queensland. I've been saying if you only watch one game, it's this one, because it'll be an absolute cracker, and it's Brad Thorne's. Might be his last time he coaches. So there's plenty going on in there, mate, but that's the same with a lot of the games. Oh, no, there's some dead rubbers this weekend, but this is definitely a live one. What is it, 4:30 for you blokes tomorrow afternoon, 2:30 for us here. It'll be a cracker.
Yeah, look, the other live games are the Hurricanes versus the Crusaders, and tonight the Blues play the Highlanders. So, yeah, there is a little bit on this. Speaking of coaches, mate, Eddie Jones, mate, your mate, what the hell is he talking about that he's going to leave after the World Cup, win or lose?
Well, the problem is people are asking him too many questions and he doesn't have any new answers, so he's just throwing crap out there. But all right, that was my first thought.
Yeah,
he just keeps on making noise because he's the only person that any of the journos want to talk to. They don't want to talk to anyone else. So they ask Eddie. So he's brought it up the other day, and then I go, hold on. If he does win the World Cup with Australia, that is an absolute miracle. Like, he'd be in charge for 5. We got 5 Test matches before the World Cup starts. If he wins that World Cup, then I'm not saying it's possible. Well, anything's possible. Why would you coach on? There's nothing further to do. You just go, wow, you are the greatest coach ever. How did you get the Wallabies from 7th to 1st in 5 months? And if he loses, he'll go, oh, rugby in Australia is more crap than I thought it was. So maybe he's got a point, but he's got a 4-year contract. So I guess, I don't know how it all works it out, mate. Yeah, I'm not at that level.
Let me explain how this works. So in Australia, over the last few days, you've had Origin, and that just owns the back page.
I thought you might want to talk Origin.
But I mean, that just dominates every single piece of sports news you've got. Then suddenly, on the day after the first Origin, Eddie Jones is side by side on the front page, back page, because he's decided to resign. Genius again from the man, and that's why he got employed by Australian Rugby.
Yeah, you'd love to see. Most coaches are employed for their coaching ability, correct? Mm-hmm. Whereas Eddie Jones, 50% of his must have been factored into his contract for marketing, because he has dragged Australian Rugby, which was a whimpering, quiet mess before he arrived. It's now making noise. We're now grabbing – rugby league's now disturbed by us again, and that was when we're at our best, when we're actually taking some of the press from league and AFL over here, and it's actually happening. So he's actually – before he's even coached the Wallabies, he's actually done half of his job, and that's the marketing side. He's got rugby to be relevant again. It's been incredible. If we actually win a test or two, anything could happen over here.
Marlo joins us every Friday, Triple M Breakfast Show, and I want to talk about that brilliant video that you put up online talking about the man bags. But before we do that, yes, I did mention Origin, and yes, we did take it up the chutney again. And look, I mean, I was heaving into Jerome Luai yesterday, and it's not just him, but the halves were so ineffective. But this dancey, skippy, runny, jumpy, side-to-side stuff that he does, just run forward, mate. And then, of course, he started to get into Reece Walsh about you pulled my hair and you ran off and you're not... Mate,
Well, cut it off, mate.
Look, I just think that, this guy, he just needs to actually learn that, your first and foremost job is to win matches, mate. And I just kind of wonder whether he gets a little bit carried away with all the peripheral.
Well, I don't want to get too deep in Origin. I heard you talk to Corey Parker, my on-air partner's husband.
Yeah.
Yes, he's actually better than my on-air partner. I'd rather work with him. But anyway, what that showed was that Panthers ball, I like to call it, the way they play rugby league for the Panthers, it doesn't work at State of Origin.
There you go.
Because State of Origin, no one understands it like Queensland. Do you know how Queensland actually started, as in the white man Queensland, not the traditional owners of Queensland? What happened? All the prisons in Sydney got too full. So they said, righto, let's grab all the worst bastards and let's send them up to that place about 800 kilometres up the beach, up to Brisbane. They didn't have a name at that stage. All their worst prisoners, they sent them to Queensland. And that's how the attitude of Origin began, because we not good enough for you down there in Sydney? And to this day, it still pervades our whole attitude and moral rectitude. That's what Origin's all about. And you know what? Sydney people still don't get it. After 43 years of Origin, they still don't understand that everyone in Australia hates them. And I feel, what are you doing? You're a Kiwi. You should be hating them as well.
No, look, we're just sitting here just lamenting, as we do every year, wondering why the hell we can't have this. And Graham Lowe suggested a brilliant idea to us the other day, Lowe. The only non-Queensland guy to coach Queensland, right?
I know.
And
what a man.
He said, how about, and he called it Roots, and I think we need another name for it, obviously, because that, when you come from Upper Hutt, only means a Friday night, down at the Angus Inn, mate, if you're lucky enough.
Yeah. What's the idea?
Enough. Well, the idea is you got to, rugby in this country needs to reclaim the hate. Now, the hate has always been there. As a Wellingtonian, I hated the Cantabs, I hated Waikato, I hated Auckland. The rest of the country hates Auckland. Have an Auckland versus the rest and make it that.
Oh, bloody hell.
There you go. The rest of the country hates it. It's never been done. And I tell you what, the rest of the country would love it because, north of the Harbour Bridge, they hate Auckland. South of the Bombays, they hate Auckland. As far as we're concerned in Auckland, we don't even know that the rest of the country exists. I mean, if we didn't have power from the South Island, we'd cut the cable and let you drift to Antarctica, you inbred sods. You know what I mean? So this is where the naturalness of it is, Greg. We have it here, but our rugby union is so namby-pamby these days. If you dare...
Everyone's nice to each other.
That's it. Everyone's got to be nice to each other. This is bloody sport, mate. This is the place where you can have legitimate hate. It's not real hate. It's legitimate sports hate. You get it. Queensland gets it. That's the point.
Tribalism, we call it, and playing for each other and looking, I'm not going to let you down. I'm not going to let you down. God, it's bloody good.
He was great, Corey. I tell you what, Corey Parker, I'll send you the audio, actually. He just eloquently and beautifully described what you were talking about, what it means to a Queenslander growing up, the 4.1 million of it. It was just brilliant to listen to, mate. He said as a kid, if Queensland won a State of Origin game, he'd go to school in his Maroons jumper the next day. No one questions, where's your school uniform in Queensland, mate? You're wearing the jumper.
That's right. We had a listener ring up the other day and said there was a teacher who he sent two kids on the morning of Origin. He sent his two kids to school. They were put on lunchtime detention by this teacher, who we then find out was a New South Welshman. They got to lunchtime detention, and the teacher said, that's ridiculous, gave him a pat on the head and said, get out there and play, Queenslanders. And it doesn't matter.
See, that's great.
Nothing matters. It doesn't matter at school. We went to a function yesterday. I don't want to go through too much, but our radio show gave away a car, and we had a treasure hunt at the Pat Rafter Arena, okay? We hid the keys, la. There was 200 people there. This is the morning after Origin. Everyone's been hung over. People have taken the day off work, told their boss, I'm trying to win a car. There would have been, out of the 200 people, 140 of them still had their Origin jerseys on. I know it looks stupid, and people must, if you came from outer space, you went, what's going on here with these fools? But that's what Origin is all about, and that's why we keep winning it.
No, and I'm going to tell people where they can go and get it. Triple M Brisbane, that's the show. That's what Greg does. He does it with Margo. Yeah. I don't know the name of the other bloke that does the show. I'm sorry. But,
doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, just Dan.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, there's only 2 stars, you and Margo. Anyway, you had this brilliant clip talking about Reece Walsh's $3,850 Louis Vuitton man bag and going through a list of the other Queensland names. As you're calling them out, who would wear it? Gordon, tell us. I mean, can you imagine Gordy arriving with one of those around his neck?
Oh, bloody hell. Eshays or whatever they call them. Hey, listen, have you onto the other thing? I've started a cult following on this, if I can get everyone to watch. And it's not so much in rugby, but I hope it doesn't creep in. I hope I can allowed to say it on your program, but dick on shoulder celebrations after tries.
Oh,
Have you
stop
seen
it.
it?
Yeah,
The
no,
try score?
I don't like. I mean, I watched a little bit of that at Origin where they leap up and all of a sudden you're turning around and
Yes.
there's the guy's Johnson,
You've
right?
been sexually assaulted by a teammate.
Just stop it, mate. Stop it, mate.
DOS.
DOS.
It's become a real cult thing, and that's all people are watching football for over here. They text me at strange hours. Even at the game last night, the women's Origin, they were claiming there were some women's private parts on
Lord Almighty.
All right. Now, listen, can I finish? Can I just go through one?
On,
we had the Prime Minister, our Prime Minister is a big Rabbitohs fan. He was on our show last week. He was travelling through Brisbane. He said, can I, because he knows we won't talk politics with him, ever. So we were talking footy, and then I brought up the dick on shoulder. And this is from the man in the number one position in Australia. He said, so true, Marto, that is sexual assault. I think people need to sign a form before the game if their teammate is going to thrust their dick on their shoulder. So there you go, right from the top of Australia, stamp it out of the game. It's a campaign I'm running.